And Stephen's ready. So showtime. Go ahead. Oh, Stephen, you're muted. one fly in that ointment. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, got the fly out of that ointment. I just took my mask off because I'm social distancing from myself, so I figured I'll be all right. Welcome to Santa Monica Windjammers Race Committee Seminar, Webinar. Hope you're all doing really well on this beautiful day. I'm here actually on the campus of Santa Monica Windjammers in the back, right outside of the Race Committee closet, where we store all of our equipment. And I just wanted to welcome you to this really fun hour. We'll be here online for about an hour. I go through things about the Race Committee, about different aspects about how to plan the event, and I'm going to be joined by Denise George, our Junior Staff Commodore, and also Steve Potter, our Fleet Captain. Who and Steve will be taking you through pretty much everything from planning a regatta to all the way to the trophy presentation. So you'll be going through all of that. So we really hope we're going to be back in June. We do have a race scheduled for June for our barbecue series. And I just wanted to go through a little bit of a brief synopsis of our race calendar. We had a really terrific Super Bowl regatta in January, and it's focused around our juniors, but we get a lot of other races in there. So that's how we start the year off. In April, we start with our barbecue series, which is a once a month on the weekend opportunity for sailors to, what we like to call, have a day sail with a purpose. So we have a race in the afternoon, mostly on Sundays. There's one Saturday we have scheduled. And then we continue on with our Labor Day Regatta, and that's a regatta where we start here, everybody in Marina Del Rey, and then they sail down to Seal Beach. And the really fun thing about that is everybody's encouraged to dress like a pirate. So we have a big kind of costume thing at the end. And so it's a great party down there in Seal Beach, in Long Beach area. And then we finish up with our Oktoberfest. And besides attracting a lot of top racers in Marina Del Rey, you guessed it, we have another awards for best lederhosen outfits. So we like to make sure we have a lot of good fun stuff going on with our regattas that we plan throughout the year. All these events are on our racing schedule on our website, and there's plenty of opportunities for folks to participate, even to be an event chair, somebody who's going to help organize these events. You don't need to be a racer to help organize, just somebody who wants to get involved. Also, you can help out with equipment crew to make sure we can pull all the equipment to like all the stuff you see behind me. I'm going to be talking about equipment in a short while. And then also a hospitality team to make sure we have people that can help just welcome folks and see how we do on land, back at the club. And then, of course, there's the on-the-water part of being in the race committee, to be on either the race committee boat, to help with flags, to help with timing. And then we also have our chase boat. And so you'll be either doing mark set or for the pin or for different parts of the race course. So I'm going to basically hand this off to Steve Potter, our fleet captain. He's going to take you through planning the events and tell you all the things you know. Later on, Denise George will then show you what maybe you want to have in your own little kit, in your own little bag when you come out for when you start participating in one of our events. Please make sure you can look at our website to either tell people about this, because this presentation will be on our website as soon as we're done here. And we'll be hopefully back June 14th for our barbecue series. If you want to contact me, it's really simple, race@smwyc.org. And then that way you can get information, contact me about get involved, and that'll be terrific. Also, if you have any questions throughout the length of our webinar here, just put it down in the chat, and we'll hopefully be able to answer your questions as they come up, or maybe we'll wait to the end. Anyway, so enjoy this wonderful afternoon at home in isolation, and take it away, Steve Potter.
All right. So I'm going to walk you through this presentation, this PowerPoint presentation. Many of the slides are not very entertaining, with not a lot of photos and stuff. So I'm going to try to be brief so that we can get to the more fun aspects of it as quickly as possible. So we'll have a couple of interruptions to do some fun stuff, and so we'll get it going. I want to thank everyone for coming. And the race committee is one of the few committees that is really active at the club, and seems to be active year after year. So it's a great way to get involved and get something, give something back, but also get something out of your involvement. So
Your PowerPoint's not up, Steve.
My PowerPoint is not up. Perfect. We'll try this again.
Oh, I'm not alone.
All right. So is PowerPoint up now?
Yep,
All right.
you're all.
All right. Good deal.
You might want to mute Steve McDonough at this point.
Take care of that, and then we'll get going. All right. So when we have when we put on a regatta, the race committee has a few goals, and the first is a safe, fair, and fun event, and good communication. That's good communication amongst the race committee members as well as the community of racers that attend. And we do this with a little bit of careful planning and attention to the details. So what happens, we have a team, the race committee team, and of course, there's a lot of things that we can do on the shore. There's the race chairman or the event chair, kind of takes a big picture look at it. Equipment coordinator, registration, shore support, and the list goes on. Scorer, a protest chair, and off on the water, we've got a principal race officer, timers, a mark set boat with people that drop marks, reporters, folks that cite the lines at the start and the finish, signalers who raise and lower flags, and of course the drivers for the race committee boat and the chase boat or chase boats. Before we get started, certain things get done. There's been some preliminary planning, and we issue a notice of race. We do publicity. A little closer to the start of the event, we produce a set of sailing instructions, plan out the equipment that's going to be needed, any social activities, purchase the trophies, and make sure we have adequate coverage to cover all the things that are being done. This is a copy of a notice of race. This one's fairly detailed, but it's still only 1 page long. The goal of the notice of race is to let everyone know that we're having a regatta and give them the why, the where, when, what, and how of the regatta is going to be run. So we talk about the location, whether it's a match race or a fleet race or a destinational race, point-to-point race, any special rules. So if folks decide that they don't like the rules that are going to be used, then they basically make the decision not to attend. The location and the schedules. So this is intended to give everybody the information that they will use to attend the event or not. Next, we have the sailing instructions. These tend to get into the more and more detail than the notice of race. It gets specific about the things like what boats start when, class flags, courses, potentially some additional requirements like checking in or not, radio channels, all the information that a skipper or crew, a boat can use while they're on the water. On the morning of the race, we typically have a shore team and a on the water team. The shore team handles registration, scoring, check-in sheets, overseeing the hospitality, whether that's coffee and donut at check-in, or dinner or food afterwards. Sometimes there's a competitors meeting, and then of course folks that travel to the regatta often have questions, and it's good to be able to answer those. On the water, we've got the committee and mark set boats. The on the water team generally also does the speaking at the competitors meeting. They develop a strategy for the day, and they head out early to get to the race course. This is a list of some of the equipment that we use during a race. So of course we have marks, anchors, lines. We have the race documents, plus spares to hand out to competitors, flags, horns, whistles, clipboards, and then we get to other stuff that comes in handy like tape, zip ties, hand bearing compass, radios, food and beverage for the race committee, for the folks out on the water, and of course safety equipment. All right, so now I'm going to switch over to Steve, and he's going to show you some of the equipment that we actually use. And I will unmute Steve at this point. Steve, you're going to have to restart. I had you muted. Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you now.
SMWYC. Okay, you can hear me now. Great. And we're going to take you through is just a bit of exactly what it is. We have basically, we start over here. We have this tetrahedral inflatables, and the mark set boat will take them out, and they'll place them will either be set at the for the pin, and or maybe multiple tetrahedrons will go out, and we'll need to have them available for marks. Sometimes, as great as our bay is, sometimes the marks they move or they're not existent, and so we need to kind of set our own marks. Sometimes, if we're going to adjust the course, we might need to set to use that for that. We also have right here, this is the anchor and rode that goes out with that, so it gets attached to that. So if you're on the mark set boat, you get to throw that in the water, get the anchor in, and throw the tetrahedron out, and get it all lined up while somebody is in the chase boat communicating with the PRO to make sure the line is just perfect. Okay, and then what we have right here is just a bag of flags. We have all of the Coast Guard navigational hailing and information flags, the entire alphabet, entire number system, as well as then different flags that we use for things like answering pennants and that kind of stuff. We also have right here is an example of our class flags. We use solid colored class flags here at Windjammers. And then additionally, we're going to make sure you always have a radio. I'm hearing some of this stuff already been talked about. Just good to remind, clipboard. We will supply you guys with all this stuff. The timer will be the score will be using the clipboard to make sure they record all of the different finishes and whatnot. Here's our flags. Basically, the flag we have right over here is that would be the boat flag. So we'll have that on the committee boat. That sets up the line. So wherever that flag goes, that's how then the PRO spots the line to make sure we have a nice square line to the wind. The other flags, this next bungee flag, you can see with the different number flag, the number 1, and with the purple, that's a class and course flag. In the middle is our P flag. That's our preparatory flag. That flag basically goes up and down throughout the sequence of our start. And then this is the second bungee flag for a course and class. And we have them both set up so you can see, we'll show you later, what that looks like in a starting sequence to make sure that we have people, 2 people on that so we can go from one class to another up and down. And then this is just a flag that we would have used for, say, a finish if we have to set up a start line as well as then a finish line. So we have that as well. We have some additional flags I just wanted to bring to your attention. This is probably one of the most common flags you'll see. This is we call the L flag. This means come within hail. And so the race committee will then ask the competitors to come by because I want to say something. This flag right here, this puppy is the one that basically puts everything to a halt. If the competitors see this flag go up and it's gone on, maybe we've had a weather issue, maybe we've had a mark issue, and the race committee wants to then restart things. And so then they'll go on the horn and go on the radio and then indicate to the competitors what
Ooh.
the answering, right? So anyway, so that's the, it's very important. These last two are flags that will go up in the event that someone is over the line early on the course side of the line. When the gun goes off, that means they started incorrectly. When this goes up, that means that the competitor will need to come back around. Often the race committee, as a courtesy, will also kind of hail their number on the radio. This is then the flag saying everybody did something screwy. So we're going to start the entire race. This is called general recall. So we've got a bunch of flags. We'll take you through the start flags in when Brian and I show you our start sequence a little bit later. But that's about it. So that's kind of our equipment. And take it away, Steve.
Okay. So now it's time to race. We're a little challenged on Steven's bandwidth. Hopefully we'll get a little better coverage for his next episode. So it's time to race. And so we have a couple of different types of races and courses. Point to point, that would be what we do in our Outlaw Regatta, which runs from Marina del Rey to Seal Beach. We're blessed here in Marina del Rey with fixed marks outside the breakwater and a course chart number 17, which allows us to, has predetermined courses for those marks, and comes in really handy in setting things up. And then we also can just drop marks in a designated area and provide our own marks. This is course chart 17, and all the letters that you see up here designate where we have yellow spars, mostly yellow spars, and designated locations. So on the right-hand side of the chart is a list of a whole 36 or so races or courses where the showing which marks to go to in order. Okay. Drop mark courses. These are used pretty often in one design racing and on venues, of course, that don't have fixed marks. And these are a couple of the more popular configurations for how you would do that. They tend to be upwind, downwind, sometimes with a reaching mark. So how do we choose the course? Obviously, if you have a point-to-point, if you're going to sail from Marina del Rey to Seal Beach, that's a pretty predetermined course. So we're only going to talk about fixed marks or drop mark courses. And typically what we do is we try to choose courses that give races that'll last 60 minutes is what we shoot for. 90 minutes would be considered a long individual race, especially on a day when you're trying to get in multiple races. With that, the PRO will take into consideration how fast the boats are, what the wind speed is, and also what the racer's preferences are. So here we have an arrow up at the top that shows the direction of the wind. And we're going to choose courses that generally have an upwind leg as the first leg. The starts at S. Down at the bottom, you see the oval, and we pick a set of marks that align with the wind. If the wind goes a different direction, in this case south, then we adjust accordingly. And we set a starting line. And the goal with most starting lines is to set the line perpendicular to the wind. So that gives everybody an even start in theory, whether they start on the boat end or the pin end. And then we have to decide how long to make the starting line. So a basic rule of thumb is to make it 1.5 times the length of all the boats starting at one time added up together. So if you have 10 30-foot boats, you would set a line about 450 feet long. Now you don't want to make them too long because if the wind shifts, stuff like that, then one end becomes more favored than the other, and the longer the line, the bigger the bias. And a couple other things to keep in mind: we use longer lines for higher performance classes, just because they have a tendency to get to the line and earlier and on time. And then also, if it's really windy and choppy, you want to make the line a little longer just to create some more space that helps the boat stay apart. So this is an example of a line that is definitely not set optimally. You can see that it's not perpendicular to the wind. There's a couple of ways we start the races. There's also a separate sequence that we won't get into for match racing, and but the majority of the races are started per Rule 26, and with a 5-minute sequence, and the time before the start, and all your signals are given with flags or shapes. There's another one that is a little less formal, and the default time there would be a 3-minute sequence. It's commonly used for smaller boats and junior races, and predominantly all your instructions are and your timing is indicated by sound, so whistles. So right here we show the typical starting sequence for the Rule 26, the normal starting sequence. At 5 minutes, we will raise a class flag. That's the warning signal 5 minutes prior to the start, and we'll blow a horn. At 4 minutes, that's the preparatory signal. So we blow a horn then, and we'll raise the P flag. Then 3 minutes later, at 1 minute prior to the start, we blow the whistles, blow the horn for a little extra long, and we lower the P flag. And then a minute later, we drop the class flag with the sound, and off they go. So back to Stephen, and he will go through hoisting and lowering some of the flags. Stephen, do we have you? There he is. Okay, we have a bad signal again. Stephen, you got a really bad signal. You might want to relocate your camera, see if you can get a better signal, because we got nothing here.
Can you go to the video, Steve?
Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead one slide and see if we can. They can do something to get a.
There he's better now.
A little bit better. All right, so. Let's see if we can get him up again. He must have muted himself.
How about that? Can you hear me now?
All right, now we can hear you. And
All right.
We've got good signal.
Great. We'll try to make this quick then. All right, so what we've got is, we already talked about all these different flags. This is the boat flag. we have our class and course flag, our P flag, and then we also have then a second course and class flag. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take you through a sequence. And so Brian and I are going to basically start it. So Brian's going to start by taking the P flag out of the holder, because the P flag is down when we start the whole sequence. Okay, and so he's got that down, and so now he's going to go to the first course group of flags, and so he's going to, and I'm going to give him a countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he's going to bungee that sucker up. Are you ready there, Brian? Okay, so timing is very critical. We've got to make sure that the person who's on the flag is listening to the timer. The timer will call.
Oh.
At my 5 minutes to go for our class for the whole start. After 5 minutes, then this class number 1, this purple class goes. Okay, so then we're looking at our watch and we're making sure that we're enjoying our day on the water. Maybe I might just ask everybody how we're doing. Yeah, looking for birds. Oh, but then the timer says beware. Make sure you're listening. So here we are. Countdown to 4 minutes to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up with the P flag. All right. So Brian will set that into the holder for a little bit of time, and that'll stay there from up until 1 minute before the class goes off. Here's where you can, you know, check in with your friends again, get a drink of water, hang out on the boat. You're on this beautiful boat and in the middle of the Santa Monica Bay. Yes, Brian's stretching and having a good time. And we're thinking about that cold beer when we get back. Oh, we got to get back to work. So now we're about getting close to 1 minute before the start. Very exciting. Okay, so here we go. We got basically a countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, P flag down. So now there's only 1 minute. And now what Brian and I are going to do is we're going to basically get set up. He's going to be ready to take his down, and I'm going to be ready to set mine up in this same countdown. Okay, so we're listening for the timer, and the timer says, okay, here we go. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Class number 2 goes up. Class number 2 is a pink class, and also they're going to go to course number 2, course number 1. While we're waiting for the next class, if we have the third class to go off, Brian will change that to class number 3 is a red one. He'll change the class, and then he might change the course, depending on what the PRO has set for that. But these courses, they get a whole combination of courses in their racing circular, in the sailing instructions. But it's not until their flag goes up that they know exactly what their course is. Okay, so I think that's it. Hopefully you can hear me. And if not, you'll see a lot of stop-start kind of sounds from me. Take it away, Steve.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. So here's a little video that shows what sequences look like at warp speed. 3 sequences in this video. We have a class flag up, class flag down. Okay, well, that was certainly exciting. And sometimes it feels that way. So these are a bunch of the flags that we use. The numerical ones can be used to show the course to the first mark. They can be used to indicate what course number to use. And then a variety of other ones that are used for different purposes. We've got a few other common signals that we'll use at starts. Again, we've talked about this AP, and we'll get into each of these. But we use the AP to postpone, We use the X flag to indicate someone's over early, and we use the general recall to say, oops, everybody come back and start over. And so we go. C flag indicates a change of course while we're on the water. The S flag indicates we're going to shorten course. And the L flag asks people to come within hail. And the Y flag indicates that PFDs or life jackets would be worn at all times. So the answering pennant or the cat in a hat flag is one of your race officer's favorite flags. So it's used to kind of tell people we're postponing or postpone at any time prior to starting a race. So we do that if there isn't enough wind to really get a race started. If the wind direction hasn't settled in, if we're in a sequence and there's a huge wind shift, it really makes the starting line biased, we might decide to postpone. If the race committee makes a mistake, it's a good time to throw up the postpone. And pretty much for any other reason prior to the start of a race. General recall is used instead of the postpone, and that's done after the start of the race. And it's typically used when so many boats are over early or all the boats are over early, or if the race committee has made a mistake. That brings everybody back to the starting area and brings everyone back to the starting area, and then you start all over again. Okay, so next, the X flag, we've gone through this a couple times. So you put the X flag up when someone's over early, and when they've gone back and restarted, and everybody has done that, then you take it down. And that's the indication that everybody is started properly. Often we will try to broadcast that on a radio or holler it out if it's a juniors regatta, let people know and give some assistance, but the official notification is the flag itself. Okay, so after the start, so it's a good time for us to check to see what kind of notes have been taken down, record people that may have been over early, whether they restart or not, the time of the start, the course that we're sailing, people that show up that may or may not have registered or shown up on your check-in sheet, reorganizing the flags, obviously keeping an eye out of the boat to monitor how the race is progressing. If it's progressing as planned, that's optimal, but if the wind tends to die, you might shorten course. If there seems to be a huge wind shift, then you will think about adjusting the course, and of course prepare for the finishes. In the midst of all this, you sit down and you have lunch and a nice water or something else to drink. As you get into more competitive races, you might start doing things like having your chase boat record the positions at mark roundings. This becomes pretty important when trying to recreate finishes in protest situations or give redress. And of course, you're always monitoring the wind speed and direction, and you may need to set a finish line or adjust the way you're anchored if the start line's the same as the finish line to make the finish line square just like the start line was square. On the water, we adjust the course with the C flag. And this is typically a project for the chase boat or the mark set boat. They get to run out in advance of the fleet, set up at a mark, and as the fleet approaches, before the first one gets there, start in the, raise the flag, blowing a whistle or a horn, and finding a way to indicate where the new mark or what the next mark is. We can shorten the mark. You can shorten the mark at any mark along the way. So they set up the same thing, typically done with the chase boat, sometimes done at the start-finish line if you have a multiple lap race. And again, this is used only at the mark of a course. And obviously it has to be done before the first boat gets there. And you try to make enough sound so that everybody's aware of the fact that you're going to shorten the course. Okay, so now it's time for the finish. So hopefully you've seen this coming and you're prepared. And it's basically the opposite of watching the line at the start. You'll position someone that's eyeing down the line between the flag and the finish mark. Someone might be hollering out what numbers are approaching. You've got a bunch of recorders ready to write down those numbers in in rapid succession if you have close finishes. And just make sure we get all the information down that we need to score the race afterwards. So again, you have a spotter that helps identify the boats, so it's not a complete surprise when they get there. The timer's calling the time because especially in handicap races, their position is based upon how long it took them to sail the course. Then we have recorders that are going to write down finish times, and then we have a couple of situations that could come up. And so if a boat has a penalty right before they finish, they may cross the line, realize that they have a penalty, go out, do their penalty, and finish again. So it's important in your record keeping to make a note each time that boat crosses the line. So if he goes out, does a penalty turn, then comes back in and hits the flag when he's doing it, he might have to go refinish all over again. So we want to keep track of all that information, and so the recorders are really critical in keeping those types of records. This is a copy of one of our recording sheets. So we use these are used for to record the sail number. We've got race numbers up above, some other information, and we put in the hours, minutes, and seconds for handicap races. In one design races, it's just the order of the sail number. And basically all the boats are identified by sail numbers most of the time. All right, so now we've finished. We're wrapping up on the water. Obviously, we want to pick up all our marks, all our anchors, and take a quick look. Compare the check-in sheet with your finish sheet, because we'd like to know that basically all the boats have finished or are accounted for and heading safely back to shore. We pick up the anchor of the committee boat. If we're creative, we can take a picture of the finishes with our phone, send it into the scorer so the scorer can get a head start on recording the scores in the computer scoring system. And then we head on in and note the time when the race committee hits the dock. So more recording to do. That establishes the limit for when competitors can protest each other. All right, so one of the most valuable players on the team and one of the most appreciated and underappreciated players on the team is the scorer. getting the scoring right and presenting the scores is something that can never really be done well enough. Certainly the competitors come here and or come to the club and they're looking for their score and they want to grab some food, see their score, get to the trophy presentation, and do that in a timely manner. So this is where record keeping is critical. So it's garbage in, garbage out. If the scorer can make sense out of the notes that are made on the scoring sheets, it makes his job much easier. Certainly we want to get our scores up, preliminary scores up as soon as possible. That gives competitors a chance to take a look at it and come and say, hey, wait, something's wrong. I finished in front of so-and-so. And those things that can then be corrected and not drag things out. Remembering that results can be challenged for up to 2 hours after they're posted. So the faster the better. These are just kind of the aggravation type things that if they don't happen, make us look really good. And if they do happen, they make us look kind of not so good. So when there's no more protest and nobody's indicated that they have an issue with where they finished that wasn't their own doing, then we change the scoring from preliminary to final. There are tie-breaking procedures and stuff like that, but that's probably better off for a later presentation. All right, so then we finish up. We've got the scores resolved. We don't have any objections, so we present the trophies and the awards. Eventually, we need to make sure all the gear is put away and properly stored. Anything that was noted as broken gets repaired. At the next race committee meeting, we'll debrief the regatta, talk about the things that went well, talk about the things that went really well, and ignore all the things that went wrong. No, and also discuss the things that go wrong and how we can do it better next time. It's kind of nice to account for all the money we collected, what it cost for the trophies, the lunches for the committee for the race committee members, anything else we do, advertising, and then a really, really nice touch is to send a follow-up note to committee boat members, people who competed, any sponsors. That just goes a long way in building goodwill. And that ends the slideshow presentation. So now what am I supposed to do? Okay, so now it's I'll go over to Denise, and Denise is going to give us some ideas of what to bring for the day. And I'll unmute her first. Okay, you're muted on your end, Denise.
Now you can hear me.
Okay, we can hear you.
Can you see me? There we go.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Hey, I just thanks Steve so much. That was a great presentation. And Stephen McDonough, you're always delightful and animated, and we love it. I think you can see we're a good group of people and super fun to get involved with. I just want to reiterate that race committee is probably the best committee to get on. Currently, it's the only committee at the club that you can get on, but it's a great way to meet club members, and not only just club members, but community, because we open our races up to the whole community. So you do meet people from other clubs and race officers and things like that from other clubs. It's just a great way to get involved. I can't stress it enough. So with that said, when you come out to race committee, I want you to be prepared so that you know what to bring out when you come. Think of, you're out there, maybe you're out there all day on one of our buoy races, but typically our barbecue series are not, you're only out there in the afternoon. But you want to be prepared. So I like to bring a just one duffel bag. Don't bring a big bag or two big bags because you're going to be on a boat with a couple other people, and so you don't want to take up a lot of space. But you want to be safe. You want to make sure you have a life jacket. You never know if you're going to have to get into the race committee boat or the mark set boat and pull up anchors or something. So you want to have a life jacket. I always make sure that I have my own sunscreen, and I have my own water bottle. Race committee does provide water and food, but I always make sure I have my own water bottle and some snacks. If I'm out in the mark set boat, I don't know that I'm not going to need to feed myself because I'm not going to get back to the boat for an hour. I also bring with me a set of sailing instructions and a rule book. I like to make sure that I know if something goes wrong, I know how to react to it appropriately. You definitely want to have a hat, and you probably want to have some layers. Now, these are great vests that we give out at the end of the year, and you too can get a nice present at the end of the year if you participate. I bring a set of fall weather gear with me for sure, because again, you don't know if the weather's going to be bad and you're going to need to stay warm. You want to take care of yourself. And for my participation in the race committee, this might be a little bit advanced for beginners. I also bring my own handheld GPS. I bring a whistle. I bring my own watch, my own countdown repeating watch, and I bring my own radio. I don't know if I'm going to be on the mark set, and like Steve said, I might have to shorten the course. So I've got to whistle to the competitors. And maybe I'm out there and I have to shorten the course. I got to count and make time, keep the time on when they finish. So I want to make sure I have all that on my body. I'm not worried that the race committee didn't bring it. Make sure you have a warm hat. Very important. Bye, everybody.
All right, thank you, Denise. All right, so everybody's unmuted. This is a good time, I guess, if any questions. And if not, I don't see any in the chat room. Jonathan?
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. That great slideshow you gave, Steve, is that available on the site? Can we find that somewhere so we can review it?
Yeah, so we'll definitely make it available to you. We're going to post this presentation. If you want to just email to race at smwyc.org, I'll send you this, the presentation as is. And then there's, we have some other ones as well. But yeah, we'll send you the slides. Absolutely.
Thanks very much. One other quick question is just hearing Denise's kit list. Do we have to get our own personal flotation device? Is that something the club, we do? Okay, so I better get to Amazon. Okay, that's it. Those are all.
They're all different sizes, Jonathan, and you want to get one that's comfortable to you so that you're going to wear it. Now, I use an inflator, but you might just have a vest, but I do a lot of sailing. So
Sure. Do you sell them at the club
it's part of my kit for everything.
Do you sell them at the club, or we just have to find our own way to get them?
We don't. West Marine carries them. You can buy them online, but you really want to try one on before you purchase it.
Right, and so the juniors program has acquired somehow more PFDs than we know what to do with. We've got a rack where we hang them out and back in various sizes, and so. And most boats are going to have a set of basic life jackets on board, but it's always best to, when you're committed and you're into it, you're going to go sailing, to have your own PFD.
Always best to have your own vest.
Ooh.
If I get paid the big bucks.
This was fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And
All right.
Denise, I know I have one question. Denise, do you have a written list of that, what you put in the bag?
Sure, I could send that out.
That'd be great.
Okay.
So folks, look for our schedule, see how you can get involved. Like we said, June 14th would be the next one. We'd be doing barbecue series. And it's a great way to get started, get on the race committee boat. And what we do is we start outside, but then we finish right at the club here. So really, it's just the outside that takes putting it together. Great way to get started. And, you know, to get more people to spread the wealth with some of these easier races, it'd be nice to get we're getting started and give the people the opportunity. So that's what we're looking to do too. All right. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Denise. Thanks, everybody, for chiming in. Have a great afternoon.
Our meetings are the
Steve.
second Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Second Tuesday of the
Yes,
month are
Joanne.
our meetings.
Right, they're easy to join by video, even when we're not in stay-at-home orders. And so that's it. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. I miss you
Bye.
all. Wish we could be out on the water. Bye.
Bye.